That on a shirt, please.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Yeah. So welcome back to Mouse Guard the Frontier. Super excited to have everyone back. So, folks, let's give a quick recap of what happened last session. You all know the drill. And for those of you who are curious, we are playing Mouse Guard, the role-playing game, first edition. However, the second edition is just this with more errata. So, they're both awesome. Who wants to go first?
I would like to go last because I did cool thing at the end.
Okay, that's fair.
I fought a fucking Hawk Lord and I made him question his own capabilities. I can't say that I made him my bitch. I would like to say that I made him my bitch, but we both know that no, I just held my own against a Hawk Lord, which is saying a lot for the record. But I will add this. By the end of it, he was trying to get away from me, and I did not let him. I was like, nah, motherfucker, I got you. Yeah, big good guts times over here. We were flying through the air like Horaloo and screaming and driveling with spit and some strange venom substance while my eyes were burning with this red-green fire. It was a good time. It was a good time.
Yeah. Okay. That's definitely part of it for sure. Absolutely. So, Derek, I'm going to give you a fate or persona, your choice.
Woo!
Who wants to go next? Oh, that's right. Red, you were not there. So, Red,
Oh, that's right.
as a welcome back, my friend, here, I give you a fate or a persona point.
Thank you. I think I burned through the ones that you gave me last.
Yeah, you've had a
That's
string
okay.
of pretty brutal runs lately, and it's not been bad. It's just you've been doing a lot.
I can roll
So
pretty pitiful.
yeah,
Oh, thank you, Alec. I appreciate you.
yeah, man. Much love. Genuinely happy to have you back. So if that's the case, then Sienna, give us a summary. What happened?
All right. So after Dukan roughed up the hawk a little bit, we were able to lure it into the trap, which honestly worked pretty well, all things considering, because the hawk was still able to do some damage, even in that state. But me and my troops were strategic, and we waited until he was trapped before popping out and trying to do some damage ourselves. And in the end, I was able to deal the final blow with my weapon, which had been enchanted, for lack of a better term, to ensure that I got the ending that I wanted. So after landing that final blow to knock out the hawk, I entered into this. Oh, sorry, my cat jumped up on the desk. Um, Entered into this state in my mind where I was communicating telepathically with the hawk, who was also there, and get down. Um, he was ready to submit. He was basically asking me, do you want me to be an ally? Do you want to just cage me up or something? What do you want to do? And Sayana, having had enough bloodshed, seen enough people have to do things they don't want to do, went ahead and granted the hawk its freedom, which surprised him, but he was thankful, and I think we ended up with an ally in the end.
Oh yeah, that's very fair. Yeah. So I will.
We got the good ending.
You did. You guys really worked hard for the good fucking ending. So you pressed all the Paragon buttons. You jumped through all the hoops. Everyone liked this. You're going to be getting a Fader persona. Go ahead, Natalie. You 100% earned it. All right, yeah. As a general overview, yeah, the past couple of sessions they have been meeting with this Hawk Lord within the region known as Vinecrawl, and they were trying their best to subdue him without killing him because he seemed like he was a halfway decent dude. And lo and behold, turns out he was ensorcelled by an owl and had to fight them. And then all that happened, and they have freed him. And when I last left off, I believe Sienna the mouse, the little mouse that could boop a hawk, was last focused on going unconscious in a giant crater where her and the hawk had their last little clash. And I feel like this is a perfect moment for us to pull back to where we were last. So, Giles, you and your Wolframites have been slowly and steadily like recovering the folks nearby that you can. There has been a couple of casualties for the Wolframite forces, but not an overwhelming number of them. Considering you were fighting a literal Hawk Lord, you did pretty damn good, all things considered. And you've probably been along with the other regiments nearby, doing your best to gather the wounded and such. I imagine same thing for you, Dukan. After the fight, that energy that filled you just left you as quickly as it came. And all it left in your mouth was a taste of acidic bile and a slight tiredness like you ran a marathon. But other than that, you don't feel any different. You don't hear any voices. So
That's good. I was worried I was going to go rabid.
No, you did not. So you two just witnessed this epic battle. Giles, to let you know, your plan of building like a trap for them 100% fucking worked. In fact, actually, it was the only reason they could fight the Hawk was that trap grounded them. So that between Dukan bringing the Hawk close enough to the trap for it to work, like literally everyone did the important thing. So I just want to let you know your plan was fucking good and it actually paid off pretty well.
Thank you. Sky Snares. Wolframite special.
So got the Wolfram special. Sorry.
It's okay. So you two both, last you saw a couple of minutes ago was Seer, this grand and terrible Hawk Lord descending on Cyanna, and Cyanna bringing her mace up and whack, striking this falcon right on the side of the head, and there being an actual explosion of air, of like overpressure, knocking both of them to other sides of the field. And while your medics are certain she's alive, she's unresponsive, as is the Hawk, at least for about 20 minutes before she comes to. At which point, Cyanna, all at once, all the air rushes back into your lungs, and you wake up.
Probably just slowly sit up and look around.
The field looks pretty. It's now mid-morning, or at least starting to be like, it's not mid-morning. It's early morning still, but the sun has officially crept over the mountainsides nearby and flooding into the forest. So everything is now fully lit up green. It's no longer that blue indigo of still nighttime. And from what you can tell, your troops are sort of surrounding you somewhat, making sure you're all right. You recognize your, I don't want to say ward, but basically ward, sort of thumb, just like tapping on your like shoulders, like, are you awake? Are you awake yet? Just like gently seeing if you're alive, kind of. That same sort of energy is like poke it with a stick, see if it moves. Yeah.
Just like nod and kind of brush his hand away. Like, I'm fine. I'm fine.
Good to hear. All right, she's up. And you just hear like a yay from nearby as the rest of your troops sort of raise their hands up. The other two, you see this small commotion happening. On the far side of the field, you can see the Hawk stir, flap his wings, and begin to right himself with a groan. And just look out at the three of you from where he is on the other side of the field. Also, thank you, Shady. Thank you, Natisha.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much, Natasha. Very much.
If I'm able to walk, then I'd like to go over to where the Hawk is.
Absolutely. You can 100% walk over.
You can talk the talk, but can you walk to the Hawk?
I will say that each of you has the exhausted condition, considering the fight you just participated in. All of you did some crazy, insane shenanigans, from uppercutting hawk lords to literally dropping out of trees with nets onto a thrashing hawk lord to channeling the spirit of a dead serpent to attack a hawk. I think you all had a tiresome day. So yeah,
That's just my morning routine.
to me, it was Tuesday. So yes, as you get closer, you see Seer, who, despite how pretty the picture here looks, Seer actually does not have his helmet anymore. Your strike has deformed it so thoroughly it no longer sits on his head. Like, you actually shattered it with the impact. He's got
Yeah, I like came at him like a fucking meteor. I like, oh man, that was such a cool moment, dude. I told like everybody about that.
Oh yeah, no. Like between you and Cyana, like you tore his helmet up. Cyana like thored it so thoroughly that there's like nothing left of it. It's shattered into little shards. The pieces of his helmet are just scattered about the field like shards of stone. He slowly looks over at you, and you can see that his yellow eyes are strangely seem clear at this point. And as you approach, he just sort of watches you come closer. He doesn't say anything.
I just kind of give him a nod, like, this is over, right? Just to make sure that wasn't a crazy dream from a head injury.
He looks at you, Sayana, and then you just hear, yes, it's over. And he holds out his wings, and you can see where the stitchwork of spellcraft that was woven into the underside of his wings was. No more. Now just clear feathers, not even the sign of scarring. I am free to do as I will. I owe you a debt. All of you. I am tremendously sorry for your losses. And behind you, you can see a couple of the mice are gathering what's left of a couple of the mouse's bodies, wrapping them up in cloaks, putting what's left of their weapons on them. He might not have had his full heart in the fight for sure, but even pulling his punches, a hawk lord is a hawk lord, and mice are still mice. Thank you, Teneris.
I'm just glad that this is finished and we are on better terms now.
Yes. Vinecrawl is at your disposal. I will not submit to a mouse empire within my territory, but I am willing to be a neighbor for when you get yourself situated.
I think that is fair.
At this point, Seer would crane his head up a little bit and look towards the two of you, and then just shout, "Mice that can fly and weasels with fangs, that's new to me."
The world holds a great many mysteries.
Believe you me, Bard, if I had my way, you wouldn't be alive talking.
Fair enough,
Like,
Mouse.
shoot Giles a look like, well, he's alive now. Don't be rude.
Giles would stare at you. He lost, man.
Yeah.
He is not happy. He doesn't. Between the two of you, you have a lot. He has this like small little elite force, and he values each and every one of them.
Yeah.
So losing even one person is devastating. A couple, 3, that's a lot to him. He's devastated.
That's fair. Just so you all know the actual casualties, each of you had a small strike force that came with you. So the current rules are that you have at the moment for these units are actually accurate. So, Cyanna's Shield Bearers and the Wolframite Highlanders, both of whom are a size 6 unit. Cyanna, you normally would have many more troops, but these are the ones that have survived the multiple engagements you've had so far. So at the moment, Cyanna, the Shield Bearers and the Highlanders are about the same size. And for the record, Red, this is not the full contingent of your Wolframites. This is just the ones that you would commonly take into war as your personal bodyguard. So they both lost the equivalent of 1 size, which is roughly 2 mice. Whereas for you, Dukan, with your Expedition War Weasels, your War Weasels are actually a dyad of weasels. It's just 2 backing you up because, weasels, literally 3 times the height of a mouse. But considering that I believe it was Gremble who was in... No, was it Gremble?
It was Gremble. It was Gremble.
It was Gremble. Yeah, it was Gremble who was seriously injured during the battle.
He got fucked up by the hawk.
Yeah, you also took 2 damage to your unit. Gremble is going to be injured for a while. He is going to need medical treatment. That wound is deep, like enough where he cannot use that limb. They have had to immobilize it, and they have applied a great deal of medicinal herbs and pastes to it. If he's lucky, he'll avoid infection. If he's not, he might be looking at a hook.
Dukan will bring the good boy Gremble some leftover smoked snake from his own private stash that he aged a few days extra, and he breaks him off like a big old piece of it and hands it over. You fought well, Gremble. Dukan is proud to call you his battle friend. We need a better term for that. Battle buddy. No, Dukan does not. Gremble, Dukan is proud of you. And he puts his hand on his bad shoulder before he realizes what he's doing. He's like, rest.
Gremble would snatch the jerky from Dukan's little outstretched paw and just sort of flash him this big dumb smirk. And I say big dumb smirk, but in that way that only someone that's just done something outrageously foolish could have a big dumb smirk on their face. This is the equivalent of someone who just said, hey, I bet you I can jump over that car, and then only gets halfway over it before they hit it and roll off, and they go, I'm fine. That's the big dumb smirk. He takes a bite of it and just grins and goes, it'll be a really cool scar. I can't wait. And he slowly stands up before he yelps, and one of the mice who's attending him, who... roll a die on this one. Yeah, please give me the dice. There we go. Okay, that's actually a Wolframite, who's, I think it's actually Arabelle, who's currently attending to Gremble. Just goes, aye, not so fast, sit back down, and then just literally grabs him by the back of his bandana and pulls him into a seated position. You're not moving anywhere till I stitch that up. And he just groans and sits back down and starts chewing and gnawing on the snake jerky. Seer looks over all this and he flaps his wings once to cross between you and him, Cyanna, and offers you an outstretched talon for him to fly you back to the rest of the group. It's for him, it's literally flapping his wings once.
I'll grab it.
He just one flap and just gently glides down and lets you off before he plants his feet. And he looks over at you, Giles, and he bows his head. Your people fought well. I know there are no words, but I will do my best to make sure their sacrifice is not in vain. He inclines his head. This is not the end between us. I hope it is a beginning.
To some extent.
That's enough. I want you guys to all make me a scout roll. Or Weather Watcher, your call. Just be aware that if you roll Weather Watcher, there might be other consequences as well.
I don't have Weather Watch.
But I do.
Go, Weather Mouse.
I will say I'm going to roll Weather Watcher
Okay.
whether someone does or not. So at least
I'm very-
Diana does.
I'm very focused on Grimble right now. Ducon's not a good leader, but he does care about his little buddy. I can't really call him little. And he is little compared to Ducon.
I mean, yeah, everyone's little compared to Ducon. Like, Ducon Diamondback is a big-ass noodle weasel. Like, is what
Danger
it is. And you're not wrong, Tenebrous Werewolf. Honestly, the mouse style does make them all look a little bit like Mewtwo. Okay, so, let's see. I never
I've
thought
got
about
3
that.
6s.
Damn.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Giles, were you going to roll that? Okay, that's fair. No worries.
Giles is. I'll let the Weather Mouse do the weather thing.
Fair. Okay, so that would be a failure on your part, Ducon, because you had 1 success and 1 traitor, which means you got 0. And Sienna, that is a success. So, at the
Oh.
moment,
I field forward though. My scout leveled up. Let's go.
nice. Yeah, you gotta love it, right? Always
I
worth
love failing
trying.
forward.
I love failing forward.
It's good stuff. So, looking at the weather, right now we are currently moving from spring into summer. So, at this point, we're just in summer. So, in this case, you have the following options for your weather. You can either make it clear, heat waves, summer rain, or warm and humid. There's a third one. There's a fifth one, which is, thunderstorms, but I imagine you don't want thunderstorms.
We'll go with clear.
Okay.
No, I make it randomly snow.
That if we were in spring, that's actually one of the options, and it's one of the worst. It's so bad. Okay.
Yeah, no,
All
it's
right.
a clear, beautiful, pleasant day. Not too hot, not too cold. Just enough clouds in the sky to keep the sun off your eyes.
Perfect. A truly beautiful day. One of those lovely ones right at the end of one season at the beginning of summer, where it's not quite at the peak heat yet. And as a result, while you're up and sort of looking around and seeing the sky, Sienna, you notice something strange in the distance. Not necessarily pertaining to the weather, but something a little distressing. Back in the direction of Vinecrawl, you see smoke rising up. There's always fires from settlements. There's a difference between cooking fire and clear and obvious burning fire, the kind that consumes trees. And it is very clearly that kind of fire.
I immediately try and get the hawk's attention. If I'm able to kind of grab at his claws or anything, I'm gonna do that and yell up at him, "Fire! Vinecrawl, fire!"
Seer turns his head up and looks, and you see his pupils dilate. And immediately his feathers begin to rise until you can see the crest of the back of where his haunches sort of rise up.
Grab on
And-
even tighter.
He would turn to look at all of you. I can get back faster. Do you wish me to carry you, or do you wish to go with your troops?
I'm probably still on his claws, so I'm staying there.
Okay. It's basically asking, do you all want to lift, or do you want to go back on your own? Your call.
He's not gonna crush me, right?
No, you are allies now.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
It's
I'll take
fine,
it.
You are-
Weasel.
If he wants to kill you, it's still an option. He's just not taking it.
I'll
Obviously.
take the lift.
Okay.
Off camera, I yell a few instructions to Tom, like, "Gather everyone, start heading back immediately."
Right. Of course. Salutes. Prepares to gather everyone.
I'm thinking really hard about this. I don't know if Giles would go with them.
That's fair.
I think Giles would stay with the dead. I really do. I don't feel like he would accompany them. I feel like that would be, in his mind, that would be a disrespect towards his saints, the sainthoods, for sparing him, Saint Sofano, for being merciful to him this day, and him spurning that would be ridiculous. So he's just going to turn his back and head back to his people.
That's fair. Then Seer would respect that. He would just nod and say, "Very well. You'll want to march back on the double. Your people are there too." And there's be just a as he flaps his wings, and like a helicopter taking off, it blows all the leaves back, and all the grass bends under the weight of the overpressure of his great wings, and he takes off. Over by where you guys are, it leaves Giles with all of your equerries and troops. So right now, Giles, you have the Expedition War Weasels, Sienna Shield Bearers, and the Wolframite Highlanders all temporarily under your control. And as they fly away, you can see that. Also, I was going to ask, Dukan, do you take Cole with you, or do you leave him to organize the weasels?
I mean, the weasels are probably fine managing themselves. I'd rather have my little buddy with me.
Hella fair. Okay, so Cole would go with you. So that's the case then. Sans Cole, but you would see at the moment you'd have Thumb, and you'd also have the only where you don't have art for, which would be Autumn, which would be the other of the shield bearers, as well as also your own troops there, Arabelle, Jeffrey, and Janet, and your whole patrol ready to go.
Can I take Autumn with us?
Sure, you can take Autumn with you. That would leave Thumb behind.
Yeah, switch it up a bit.
That's fair. And you would see that Thumb would just run over to you, Giles, and just go, "All right, sir. What's your orders? What do we do?"
Giles would kind of be at a loss. Usually is sort of the commanding officer that immediately knows what to do. He's always ready to criticize. He's always ready to be the contrarian. But he just sort of hefts his sword, which he moves this thing with ease, but it looks heavy in his hands. And he just kind of gestures towards. Begin the march. Double time.
Aye, sir. All right, you heard him. Everyone, let's go. And you can see nearby Arabelle. You heard the man. Get your troops together, Highlanders. Grab the bodies. We bear the dead. Let's move. And everyone just like immediately gets going. And you see even Gremble like stand up, and one of the other mice nearby just like finishes wrapping him up, and he just sort of like shakes them off. And he's got one of his arms in a sling. So he's stitched up, but you know, he's not using that limb for a bit. He even has to holster one of his weapons for it. He can't even bear it in his arm. So you guys begin the march at great speed. At this point, I'm going to say you can make me, given your stats, as I open up your sheet. Let's see. Looking at what you got, you can either make me instructor, or you can make me. I think this would be instructor or circles. Your call. Normally, I'd say militarist, but in this instance, you're at this point using social skills to direct your troops because they're not just all directly under your command. Some of them are just sort of temporary troopers.
That's fair. The argument I'd make for militarist is I'm ordering a march.
That's fair. I could see that too. If you use militarist, I would give you, in this instance, a -2 penalty for working with troops who you are not familiar with.
That's fair.
And so you might not know their nuances.
Let's see, that'll be 6.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Get out of my glove. Okay. Let's see, that is 2 4s, a 5, so 3 successes and a traitor.
Okay.
And then 2 3s. So
So yeah, that's a success. Mark that off. That'll actually level up your militarist too. So militarist 9. Jesus.
I am the war.
War never changes.
Only,
Okay.
but
So yeah, no, these troops, despite being all from different backgrounds, in some cases different species entirely. Looking at you, weasels. They all immediately get up and go. They understand the seriousness of this. Like the battle they just fought, brutal enough. Your Wolframites are both dour and focused. They are strangely almost back into combat state again. It's like they never left. As for the shield bearers, they're all professionalism, where the Wolframites are driven on with this dogged kind of internal fire. The shield bearers, they're just doing what they know is their job. There's nothing more to it. Professional to the core. The weasels, on the other hand, there's a surprising amount of spryness in a weasel running on its back legs when it's trying to do its best. And they both realize that they don't want Dukan, and more importantly, the other weasels, to get in any trouble. Namely, they don't want Modi the Red on their ass when they fuck up. So they are motoring their adorable legs to keep up. We're going to flip from you guys over to the other two players. Seer descends on Vinecrawl, and from a distance, you can see the fire has not consumed any trees. It has consumed a couple of nearby bushes, and you can see a small wooden structure on the ground is effectively raised. It is smoldering. There's very little left. And there are a great number of both Mouse Guard and Wolframite Guard running around, trying their best to keep things under control. They are seeming to begin to succeed, but from what you can tell, something big just happened. This wasn't like an earlier in the morning kind of thing. You guys got there in like maybe 5 minutes. For Seer, this is not a great distance. You on foot, it would be terrible, but you'd be hiking up a mountain through a forest. He just goes as the crow flies. He sets you both down, and Cole, as well as also Autumn, jump down with you. And he looks around with his eyes and looks back down to you. I will gather the elders of Vinecrawl, find out what's going on, attend to your forces. If you need any help, call for me. I'll hear it. You just hear a... and he pushes off again with one flap of his wings, hurtling into the tree line. And you can see he's clearly heading to some secret location where the elders go in an emergency.
Who's nearby that we recognize? Gwendolyn or Cedric? Anyone?
The easiest one to spot would probably be... Ooh, this one's tough. It probably would be Cedric at the moment. Cedric is currently, at the moment, gathering a line of mice and shouting at all of them to pass buckets. They are literally using anything they can, buckets, bowls, water skins, whatever they can, to grab water and throw it on the fire. And you can see they're not just putting out this one structure, but as you get closer, something else large is on fire as well. I'm not sure. If you want to make a scout roll, you might be able to make out what it is. But right now, it just looks like an incandescent ball of fire.
I mean, it can't hurt to try. That's fine. I'll figure it out when I get closer.
That's fair. That is a failure for your scout, so don't forget to check that.
I level up.
Nice. That's why you track failures and successes in Mouse Guard.
hell yeah.
And always try. The worst thing that'll happen is you fuck it up and you get better in the future. So, as these mice are all running around, behind the structure, you can see the source of this flame. this large, round, like covered in burning fire thing. You can't really make out what it is, but whatever it is, it seems to have crashed into the building, and that's what set it ablaze. Nearby, you can see a number of what appear to be mice, hedgehogs, and even Modi is helping putting out the fire. And Modi is covered in blood, snout all the way down to like upper torso, just red, where she got her name from, in fact. And in addition to that, you can even see there's a number of wounded hedgehogs and mice, but their wounds are fresh. Most of them aren't even bandaged. And one you can see still has what appears to be some kind of stick, like jabbing out of its body as they're running.
Well, I'll run over to Cedric.
Cedric immediately turns and just, "Oh, good, you're back. Well, that's fantastic. Welcome to the nightmare. Grab a bucket, see what you can do. How did everything go with the hawk? Never mind, you're alive. It must have gone well. Congratulations." He just pats you on the shoulders.
What's going on here?
There was an attack. Not too long ago. Like maybe, 10 minutes ago?
By
Number of
who?
mice. I don't recognize them, but they attacked. Javelins, darts, arrows, and pitch. And he looks at the fire in front of you guys.
Well, let's deal with this first.
Agreed. Jakan, can you give us a hand?
Say no more. He like rushes over to get big old buckets, whatever he can
Okay.
to help.
Make me health rolls, the both of you. Unless you have some other justifiable role that you'd like to make for putting out a fire, which, as far as I can tell, is in neither of your wheelhouses.
Fighter. I'm a firefighter. No, I'm just kidding.
Fuck off.
Damn, I should have made it rain. I thought about a light drizzle, but then I was like, no.
Jukan is like hella useful in the situation because he can just carry heavy shit.
Jakan be swole.
Oh, that's my health up too. Let's fucking go.
Nice. All right, and then I see that Cyana succeeded as well. Nice.
Thanks,
So
man.
that's 2 successes for Cyana. That is 4 successes for Dukan. So it takes you like about 5 minutes to start getting the fire under control. This pitch, whatever they use to set this off, it burns long and it burns hot. Normally, pitch burns orange. This stuff at its core burns blue. And it's enough where it doesn't just turn the wood into, charcoal. It turns it to white ash very swiftly. The problem isn't trying to put out the fire per se. It's trying to get close enough to put out the fire. The heat is so intense, it's almost impossible. So most of these mice and most of even the weasels and the hedgehogs, the best they've been able to do is run, throw dirt, throw water, throw whatever fire retardant thing they can onto it, and try to push the flames back enough for them to get to the core. But eventually, even then, when you finally get to like the center of the fire in this building, you can see just how hot this is. It's this large, almost like, for you, it would be almost mouse-sized ball of flaming timber. It looks almost like a pine cone, in fact. It might have been shaved down. And as opposed to being wrapped in something, they simply stuffed it with pitch. And so it's burning from the inside. That also would explain some of the structural damage nearby because it went off like a fragmentation grenade. Someone likely rolled this into town and then set it off. I'm going to need one more round of rolls from you guys to put this out because it is a hell of a flame. Thank you, by the way, Tenebris. I could use that drink.
I'm still doing it.
Okay, so that'd be a failure, and that'd be 2 successes. You guys do manage to, that is barely enough. So how do you guys put this out? Describe it to me, both of the two of you.
I, being small, am probably just standing in the line of chains because I imagine it's the traditional passing buckets down and someone tosses it and passing buckets back to be refilled. Or maybe I'm coordinating, making sure we have enough water to refill the buckets.
That's fair.
I am going to be carrying just literal massive quantities of water. Just dragging like a huge tub of water over and then just like dumping it out onto like the source of the fire. And then when somebody tells me, hey, that's not that helpful, why don't you just bring it closer so that the chain can be shorter? That's the second success.
Okay. Yeah, you two with your coordination, like Santa, the exhaustion really kicks in for you in the last half. It's not that your heart's not in it. It's just your body literally just went toe to toe with anything else that any other mouse would have called a god beast about a year ago.
I'm probably trying to wheeze out orders like, get the thing.
Yeah.
You know the thing. They're like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, it's you're doing a pretty decent job, but like really all you can do is coordinate at this point. You're pretty fucking winded. Dukan, yeah, no, pretty much you manage it more or less exactly like you described. Eventually, one of the Hedgems comes over and gives you the final thing to pour on it. When they realize that whatever this thing is burning so hot, it's vaporizing the water before it hits it. That's why it isn't going out. It's just burning so hot it cannot be extinguished with water. They come over bringing what appears to be this black soot that they use to extinguish flames themselves in their forges, which are too hot to use water on, usually to quench, unless you just flood them. So when you pour this giant container of it on there, finally it goes out enough where the dozens of other mice and Hedgems nearby hefting water can douse the last little bit of it that isn't put out. And as this has been happening, I'm going to say that Giles, you have managed with your rolls to justify the troops catching up easily. So you would arrive about at this point into town to see this fire finally coming under control. And from what you can see around Vinecrawl, both the civilians, the guard, the mouse guard as well, I should say the expeditionary forces, and even the weasels and hedgehogs, all of them are trying their best to handle the damage that's been done. It's pretty bad from the amount of chaos that's happened. You can make me a scout roll if you'd like, or you can just come in. Your call. You have a different angle than they do, so you might see more.
I have one in the scout, so I mean, we could see it because regardless of what happens, if it's a success or a failure, it'll be interesting, not to say the least.
Exactly.
All right, let's put it on my left hand because my right hand has a glove on. 4.
Nice. That's a success. Mark that on.
Right.
So as you enter town, your perspective from the road gives you more insight. Seer dropped them off in the middle of town right by the fire, so they really couldn't see the full effects of it. You see coming in from the outside with your troops, all of whom they were pretty jazzed, relatively speaking. Like everyone lost troops except for the weasels, but everyone had a little bit of that rush of battle in them. Seeing this pulls them right out of it. And they go from being driven to somewhat aghast. There's at least 40 mice under tarps and underneath cloths laid out for a burial. Not neatly, but hastily. As well as also, from what you can see, there are a couple of hedgehogs, and on top of that, even a few songbirds that have been killed by this explosion, who have all been covered with cloths of different kinds. And in the distance, as you approach, you get to finally see what was on the other side of the building. One of the tortoises from the expedition was what the thing had rolled into. The vaguely round shape is all that's left of its skeleton. A shell and little else. I feel like this is a great place for our first break if you guys need a bio break.
All right, don't go anywhere, folks. We'll be right back with more Mouse Guard. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. Thank you so very much for waiting. I surely do appreciate it. Omni, what's going on?
Well, I feel like this is a perfect moment for us to get back to where we were. About 5 minutes have passed from where Giles has re-entered back into the settlement. At this point, the matriarch of the Mouse Guard expedition, Gwendolyn, has called a meeting of the command crew, more or less, of the different tortoises. To which you see multiple individuals you're familiar with. Gwendolyn, Saxon, you see Cedric of Spruce Tuck, along with the rest of the crew, all in attendance. Hell, you even see Toffram there, who is Simon's adversary, for the record. Literally everybody. The captain of the ship, the post mouse, the weasel, Modi, and the hedgehog. And everyone is in attendance. Even Seer has been gathered there, along with the various mice under his direct command. Sitting around one of the upper levels of the trees, around where the bazaar is, which has been largely cleared for a makeshift moot of the different peoples arranged. Gwendolyn and Seer at the moment sit on opposite sides of that stump, as the two of them sort of are looking at each other, not in any level of like contest, but trying to get a bearing on one another. Eventually, Gwendolyn stands up, using her large halberd practically like a walking stick, and tamps it on the wood to get everyone to quiet down. The loss of a tortoise in the expedition was, unfortunately, a likely inevitability. We set out from the mouse territories with 20. We had never hoped to be this successful for this long. It does not make the loss any less painful for any of us. Cherie was a noble creature. She lived her entire life by Appleloft. And she chose to come on this expedition as the rest of us did. A commitment to the future of her people and ours. She will be remembered. And the other mice nearby, along with the hedgehogs and the weasels and everyone, sort of bow their heads for a second as she stamps her staff 3 more times. And you can see the banner that hung from her behind her being folded until all that is left is a black by ash cloth, which she then turns around and takes from the nearby honor guard and hands over to a nearby mouse. This one, a bright shade of nearly like somewhere between like a dirty blonde, kind of. This mouse is covered head to foot in soot, and you can see from his left arm, heavily bandaged, likely burned from the amount of fur that's been singed off of him. And he takes the cloth and folds it and puts it to his chest and bows. We will do our best to honor her. With your permission, Gwendolyn, as we no longer have... Since she is gone, we request that we stay behind here in Vinecrawl to assist with rebuilding, to make something of her death. And Gwendolyn turns to look at Seer, and Seer slowly just nods. Gwendolyn nods back. Of course. You are more than welcome to do so. We could use ambassadors here, with Seer's permission. And Seer speaks, and I give it, clearly. I'm sorry this happened on our territory. This loss of yours. My people bear the responsibility. We offered you shelter. and you were attacked while you were within our city. You have our condolences, and any effort we can to make it better. And Gwendolyn raises a hand, and she waves it away, practically. None of that. We are an expedition. Loss is a part of who we are. We must bear it. If it was not here, it would have been on the road. You bear no personal responsibility for this attack, Seer. But if you know who may have done this to us, I would like to know. I imagine most of us would. Then she looks around and her eyes gaze across each of you. And Seer nods. There are a number of settlements slightly out to the west from here, heading northward, parallel to ours. They are owned and controlled by the Fox Lords. They are not friendly with my people and their leaders. By your people, you mean mice or birds? Anyone who falls under the Owl Lords. The sky and the earth continue their ancient war, unfortunately. It appears as though as if you have fallen into it. Then she nods. Very well. Before we go any further, I would like to address something important. This moment would not be possible were it not for the work of 3 dedicated patrol leaders. She extends her hands and the 3 of you each fall under it. Giles of Wolfram, Dukan of Weaselkind, Sienna the Small. The 3 of you have proven yourselves above and beyond anything I could have hoped. Thus, I am promoting you. Patrol leaders no more. You are guard captains. I give you authority to command. Your patrols are your own. I give you authority to raise new forces, to gather regiments under your command. The Mouse Guard require additional forces. They require more than just one matriarch. And while I do maintain command over you, you have proven you are more than willing and able to improvise, to plan, to fight, without me breathing down your necks. All of you. And she fixes Giles with, like, a particular look. And at first it's hard, but there's, like, a softness under there. You've all lost much. It's time to get it back. The expedition cannot be a solely military pursuit, and it is proven to be too large a target. Thus, the expedition will be broken into a vanguard and a rear force. I appoint the 3 of you the commanders of the vanguard. I will allow each of you to command tortoises and their appropriate patrols. You will each be allowed to raise multiple regiments, and they will take their own. These will be purely fighting forces. We have tried diplomacy through this region. I fear diplomacy may have reached the end of its efficiency. I do not wish for you to make needless war. If you can avoid it, do so. We are not conquerors. We are explorers. We are coming back to find what we lost, not make others lose more. But the next time someone tries to kill our people, and it falls between them and us, make it them. Lord Seer, if you have anything else you'd like to add, now would be the time. And at this point, the hawk would slowly straighten up his back and look across the room, and he would sort of chuckle for a second. You had told me this is how the next day was going to begin. Last night, I would have laughed at you. I'm glad to be wrong. The beast kingdoms of this region use mice as vassals, as levies, and as regulars in their armies, for a simple reason. For as powerful as my kind are, predators are outnumbered vastly by prey. And mice, and those below us, on the chain of nature, are smart enough to even odds. Your command of sciences, your skills at hunting, your command of military tactics, they give each of you an advantage that beasts struggle to match. We are hunters. We have never had to commune in the same way as you. The only species that comes close to your level of strategic cunning would be the wolves. And the wolf packs are not who you will be fighting now. The fox dens, and he walks over to where the tables, and in front of you, you can see the large map of the region, which I will show to all of you, if it will let me. Here we go. Grab this. Now, the fox dens lie to the north of us. Along there are a chain of smaller settlements, much like the Owl Kingdom. And he's pecking on the table while he's doing this, leaving little darts there. Each of these different settlements is commanded by different lords. Some of them will be easy, small battles, something you can push through. The Fox's Den and the Owl's Roost, not so much. But if you wish to truly make this fight, take the Fox's Den first, or push through it. You will need to take care of these settlements first. When you are done, you will lay bare the Fox's Den. They are not bound to the air as we are. Their forces are built around guerrilla warfare. They will use massed attacks, ambushes, feints upon you. And the foxes are cunning. Their mastery of science is not insignificant. I cannot speak to it myself. I've only heard rumor. But I hear they use war machines. And they have enthralled hares to serve as cavalry. You will be hard-pressed against them. That is all I have. And he slowly sits back down in his roost. Gwendolyn nods. I open the floor. If anyone has anything to say or add, now is your time. She waits for a few moments. Does anyone say anything?
Sayana probably just thanks her for trusting her with this responsibility and swears to do her best by their people.
Gwendolyn would smile back at that. She'd have little to say. You've proven yourself to her.
I'll see to it personally that those that are under the owl will come around and they will perish along with the owl. That is my state. That's what I'm going to do.
Dukan will see this through.
Very well, then. With your permission, Lord Seer, I call this moot to an end. She stamps her stave 3 times, and all the mice, weasels, hedgehogs, they all begin to scatter and go their separate ways. Except for Modi, who approaches over to Dukan. She's still a little brown on her white fur, as would be expected. You can see that apparently she gained it not from killing things, but instead, that was blood of her own. When the fire burst out, she plunged herself into it to pull others out. She got pretty badly burned. But at this point, it seems like it's flaking off of her. Like she was barely injured in the first place. You really can't account for that. That's a little weird. But then again, you don't know what secret she might be keeping. She walks over and places a heavy paw on your shoulder, Dukan. You have proven yourself capable, Dukan Diamondback. I hear you struck like a serpent earlier. Tell me, how did you manage such a feat?
Dukan has come to realize that in this land of ancients you keep what you kill, or it keeps you. Dukan has found a way to tap into this power, Modi.
Modi cocks her head a little bit and smiles. Very good. That's all I needed to hear. She reaches into one of the little side satchels she has on her belt, which is decorated largely with mouse shields and daggers and trophies of past wars, which make a jingling, almost scale mail kind of presentation. And fishing out of it, she hands you a single scroll of parchment. This is yours. You have earned it.
What? Slowly takes it, opens it up. What is it?
It is a title. You are a Weasel Lord. In name and by blood now. The only thing you need is to claim yourself a settlement. Up until now, you've been a mercenary. Modi has promoted you. You are now, while technically not an overlord, which is what Modi will be in this new Weasel settlement, you're a tunnel lord. And as a result, while Gwendolyn might have given you like the rank of captain. You can't be a guard captain. You're technically not guard or mouse for that matter. But that applies to mice. This gives you access to weasels. She sort of leans back a little bit, and you can hear the wood beneath her creak a little as she sort of leans on the scabbard of her sword for stability. It will do you little good until you have forces to draw from. But this land has weasels as well. You have my authority to press them into your service. Gwendolyn has trusted you. It's high time I do the same.
Dukan accepts this title.
Excuse me, my throat.
It's fine. Dukan's a little rough on the old throat pipe.
Dukan accepts this title and will live honorably and show a new way to live to weasels that come to call his land home.
Do not forget your ferocity, Diamondback. You will need it in Weasel society. In the meantime, I turn you loose on our foe. I do not know that tortoise well, but I know it just as easily could have been ours. While I harbor no personal love for the beast that bears us, I understand the necessity of it. I will not abide such an attack. Draw their blood. I want revenge. And you will be my avatar for it.
Just
She
kind of like,
turns, walks away.
yeah, when she leaves, just kind of like look, like scowl comes across Dukan's face. Like, in his mind, he's thinking, like, I'm nobody's fucking puppet. But he just turns and also walks away.
Okay. So, what do you all do?
I am going to probably go see a medic.
Yeah, you kind of got wrong earlier, didn't you?
Yeah.
Fair. All right. Yeah. The medicine mice are still up. They've been patching up wounded and burned mice for a while now. Some of them have been seeing to burials, details, and such. So there's plenty to do. And yes, Persona and Fate. That's the second one for today, I believe.
Yeah,
right?
thanks, Tenebris.
Which is good because you're all probably going to need it. So okay, Sienna, you're going to get patched up.
Mhm.
Dukan, Giles, what are you going to do? At this point, it's like mid-afternoon after everything is said and done.
Tend to the dead. There is ceremonies to be had.
Very fair. All right, Giles, you go and prepare your Wolfmite burial ceremonies. Dukan, you.
I literally don't know. Can we do Giles' thing first?
I love the image of just
Oh, I
like
fucking
Giles
know.
and Sienna walking away, and just like Dukan standing there, just like looking at this like paper, and then the sun like doing that rotating thing you see in
Yeah.
movies where time's passing.
Like,
Yeah,
it's
no,
like
by
all the
all-
weasels ever really got wanted, so I just kind of gotta like figure out what to do with it now.
If only Dukan could read.
That's hilarious.
All right, that's perfectly fair.
I'm gonna think
Yeah,
about
no
it.
worries, buddy. We'll start with Giles then. Giles. Thus far, I will say that one of my this is me as a GM talking, but one of my favorite parts of this game has been seeing how you slowly developed the Wolframite culture. So tell me, Giles, how does burial detail work for Wolframites? What are you doing?
So, it's actually writing this out. So,
I had a feeling.
the burial process for Wolframites is traditional warrior burials, like, oh, you send them off to sea, or you burn them on a pyre, and that sort of thing. It's burial to become one with the land that you are around, and there is a bit of a small issue in that endeavor that they are not on their homeland; they're to be buried at home. That is something that's like they're to be brought home and to be buried underneath the tree, which a sapling was planted there when they were born. So it's a bit of an issue regarding that they are never going to see those trees again. So that's one of the things that's hurting Giles so much right now, is the fact that he cannot do them the proper service of bringing them home. So instead, he has to challenge himself to come up with a new tradition. And thus he has, which explains his contemplative and quiet nature this particular session. It's not something that he hoped to have contemplated. His warriors are very strong and very vigorous. I would even say they're zealots to a certain extent. But death is not something that you want to have to plan for. So, as such, Giles finds 2 trees, very large trees, and he guides his people to bring the bodies over to them and begin digging. And he will assist in the digging. Giles is a leader, but he's not one of the leaders that just strictly delegates. He does participate. He leads by example.
That's fair. They assist.
He's just using this spade to sort of break the earth, and he's cursing under his breath about some sort of saint that even Arabelle hasn't heard of.
Arabelle the whole time is watching you very intently. This to her is new. She is not just your equerry. She is the chronicler of your deeds. It is why she bears your standard. And thus, right now, she is as much a scribe as she is attending to her own people's needs. Hey, Nares.
Yeah, just taking some notes real quick. Okay.
Good buddy.
He sort of huffs and rolls his shoulders. He looks over at Arabelle, who he knew that she was just standing there. Have you heard the tale of Saint Duncan?
Arabelle, standing there with your standard in her hand, raises an eyebrow and, "No, my lord. I'm afraid I have not."
It's a lesser known saint. Unfortunately. He turns and starts continuing his digging. Saint Duncan, he was known for fire. Not something we typically talk about. We don't like worshipping saints of needless violence. He sort of huffed as he took another hunk of dirt out of the hole. But I believe that people often forget that there must be some evil for there to be some good. Saint Duncan, he set fire to an entire settlement, burned many, many predators alive. It was seen as cruel, even amongst a crueler kin, such as birds. But I could not help but think of what he would have thought today, seeing the turtle in the state that it was in.
Her eyes avert from you. I can't imagine there's a mouse alive that would have been all right watching that.
By fire, that is cleansing, that is purity in fire. Nature recovers from fire, just as it recovers from floods.
Aye, that it does. New life from the old.
As it should be. Which is why I've thought long and hard about what we're going to do about our fallen siblings.
Behind you, the two shrouded mice lie, cloaked in brown cloth. Their kilts folded up, along with their cloaks and their swords atop, ready for whatever you were planning on doing.
Fergus was quite the drinker. He was a good drinker. He was a good friend. Even when he was off his head, he still knew how to treat someone. Never told a lie. And Heather, I'll miss her daily. She was sensitive, like you. We needed more of that. We've lost 2 valuable souls this day, and I shan't forget it, ever. Make preparations for the ceremony. I'll finish digging.
Aye. All right. Get to it. Let's move. And she turns around and begins directing the Wolfmice to repair their burial detail a little further, get things ready, and leaves you to digging. You want to make me a health roll?
Yep.
For this.
For those in chat, I do picture Giles having an Arthur Morgan type ending for those of you that get that reference.
Nice.
Health. Health is 4. Let me crack open my Warhammer D6s.
I know that vibe. You can also use tough as well. Considering that right now you're tired, so that doesn't really impact this particular thing. This is disposition. So this will just make it more difficult. So yeah, I'll be looking for a little bit of a higher success than usual.
Gotcha. We're looking at a 4, a 5, a 2, and a 3.
That's 2 successes.
Oh, I
That
didn't.
would've been-
I didn't add another die for the tough.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, just a 2.
absolutely.
No difference.
Okay, no worries. So you have used tough at least twice. I know that you have used leader and tall, I believe, as well.
I think the only thing I haven't used is weather sense.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think you've used tall twice. So
I've used tall. I'm just like, yeah, I'm a big mouse. I'm a baby rat.
swole.
yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fair. The work is backbreaking. You have already endured a great deal today. The battle with Seer was not easy. And even though your troops were strangely not the vanguard of this operation, Cyanna's forces technically bore greater initial risk than anyone else, having to take the Hawk Lord down on the ground. At the same time, your forces and you took on greater exertion and greater risk for everything but the enemy in the execution of your plan, literally climbing a tree and dropping down onto a hawk. Yeah, you're tired as hell. But grief has a way of dulling pain and exorcising it. And as you dig further and further, the pain becomes more of like a warm, reassuring sensation. A soreness of work well done. By the time you're done, you have completed your task without getting anything, without messing anything up or feeling particularly winded. When you're complete, you can see Arabelle and the rest of your Wolframites waiting. And like the your full contingent, by the way. Not just the few you have with you, but like the rest of the tortoise. Like there's like 20 mice back there.
He sort of like climbs himself up out of the hole, and he's a bit sluggish, but he lifts his chin up when he sees everybody waiting for him, and he steps forward, picks up his blade, takes it from Arabelle. We don't fight for the sake of fighting. And we don't just fight with these. He hold up his blade. These are merely an extension of us. They're a tool. A sacred tool. But I like to think that in the cold iron of these blades, warmth flows through them from the hearts of us. We lost 2 valuable souls. Saint Silfano guides them to the cleansing river. But look upon the fallen not with your eyes, but with your spirits. They are with us, and smaller we may be in the sense of size. Our hearts, they grow larger and harder to allow for Fergus and Heather to hang with us. We lay them below these trees, and we allow them to take root. Maybe not at home, but here. I say there is no greater honor than dying in the soil of our new home. They will be the first remembered, and they will be the last when they fade into history. Be not sorrowful for them not knowing the Wolfram soil. Be joyous, for they will be the first. Giles pulls out a small little vial that he always keeps on him. It's like more of like a pot. It has this like blue paint, and he dips his fingers into it, and one over one eye and one over the other adds 2 new stripes. So he has a total of 4 on his face. They are with me, and with you am I. And he lifts his hands and gestures for them to move the bodies to the holes.
They do. And as they do, and even as the sun is beginning to slip below the trees, normally songbirds would not be out at this time. But in the distance, you can see a very distinctive silhouette of a falcon. Sitting on the same branch, multiple songbirds. And at the same time, they all lean their heads back, and you hear the dirge of mockingbirds as the wolfmites are laid to rest.
As they're lowered down into the holes, he raises his arms up and sort of a not exactly something that he's like willingly doing himself. He's just sort of like lifting his sword into the air. It's sort of like tongues in that way.
Right.
Praise Saint Medea for the trees to bury our fallen beneath. Praise Saint Bogdan for giving us the iron with which our blades are crafted. Saint Ainsley to allow us for these plans to come to fruition. With his cunning. Saint Fergus, which one of our brethren is named after, for his wisdom. Saint Kendrix for the glory of battle and falling within it. Saint Kennan for the love we show to the fallen and to the living. Saint Reed, artisanry, the craftsmanship to have the tools to dig the holes for our fallen siblings. And forget not Saint Tavis to remind us of home, where we are not, but where we go, Saint Tavis is with us, and where Saint Tavis travels is home. Saint Dugald for the fur upon our backs, to brave the elements, to brave cuts and grievous wounds, and recover from them. Saint Kenna for war, which is inevitable at this point, brothers and sisters. But remember, she watches over us, guides our blades, guides our minds, guides us to victory. And Saint Silvano for the mercy that he has shown upon us to allow only 2 of our siblings to ascend to the river. Praise be.
Praise be. And like literally the whole crowd all says it at once. And in the distance you see the songbirds cease singing as they all leap from the branches and head to their hovels for the night.
That's it for me.
For that, my friend, leader +2. You are now at level 2 on leader. Well done.
Hell yeah, dude.
Next up, Sienna. What are you up to? You went to go get yourself patched up?
Yes, and see if I can help out there while I'm at it. 'Cause I might be on bed rest, but I'm sure I can do something. So some bandages together, I don't know.
That is very fair. Let me just see. There we go. Okay, so yeah. When you get to the healer's tortoise, you can see that the 2 healers you have met in the past, the actual doctor and the alchemist, as the 2 of them are known, are both hard at work. They are currently tending to many different mice, and some of which are local. In fact, many of which are local. It's not just guards mice in there. You also see vine crawl residents there as well. One walks out as you enter in with what appears to be a brand new little mousy cane as he's going out. And you can see others outside are currently in the process of finding the bodies of their past, identifying them. It's a pretty sad scene. There's no small number of tears, but also relief upon finding a few people who were thought lost, but just injured. And bittersweet would be the tone of the evening at this point. When you get inside, you can see that the alchemist immediately looks you up and down and just says, "Well, you've been through it, clearly."
Well, not as bad as some, but could certainly use some patching up.
Certainly, I would imagine. Come, let's get you some stimulants. You look like as though as if you've been trained, is the only way I can take it.
We all have.
As you walk past, you feel a prick, and you look back and you see he's actually stabbed you with a long metal needle. And he, as you walk away, takes the needle and sort of runs it across what appears to be a bandage. And looking at it, you can see that he's actually studying your humors, literally, to see the state of your health. And he just sort of waves the gauze until he sees it begin to separate out. Yes, you definitely have been through it, haven't you? Have you experienced anything unnatural today by any chance? Visions? Spirits? Some arcane effects? Something is odd about your body. I can't quite make it out, but your humors are very much imbalanced. It's like you're almost not a mouse. He rolls it up and throws it into a
Mouse?
trash can.
I mean, I was at the battle with the hawk earlier, and I did see some strange visions while I was unconscious, but that is all that I can think of.
It's not a bad thing, for the record. And he bids you sit down on a little tuffet for a second as he goes and rummages through one of a dozen or so wooden boxes, and eventually comes back with what appears to be a large brown dried bean in his hands, roughly about like the size of a mouse's snout. And he just walks over onto the table and then just without another word, just crack, like breaks it on the side of the table and splits it in half till he has two like hand-sized chunks.
My fucking bean.
Oh, are we splitting that? I
We are
mean, I'm
splitting
pretty
the bean.
hungry.
In this economy?
This is not for eating. This is for drinking. And he takes half the bean and puts it back in the bag, and the other one he puts on the table and gets out a mortar and pestle and begins to grind it up. And as he does, a very rich, almost chocolatey scent fills the air. And eventually he takes this ground up powder and pours it into a little jar that appears to be steeped with boiling water. Then he walks over and pours it into a cup and holds it out. This is the strongest stimulant I have. You will drink it slowly over the course of 15 minutes. If you drink it too quickly, you could have a heart attack.
Oh.
So drink it slowly.
Tiny sip.
Make me a health roll. I know I keep doing that to you guys, but you're going to be needing more health soon.
Okay, I'm feeling better already.
That's a success. So, as you're drinking this stuff, very quickly, it hits you. He was not fucking kidding. For those of you out there who have drank it before, you might have had 5-hour energy in the past. 5-hour energy does not leave you feeling happy. It feels like you're having, at least in my experience, heart palpitations, even when you're not. It's wired in an extreme way. What he gave you was a kind of really potent dried coffee bean. The kind of thing you would get like shavings of for a mouse. And he just steeped half a bean for you.
Espresso, but on steroids.
Yeah, he basically gave you Cuban coffee. After sipping for 15 minutes, your tired condition is no longer present. He's removed one of them. And as he takes the empty cup away from you and looks about your wounds, you are injured. He begins to bandage and bind your injuries. there's little he can do for that besides apply ointments and salves and hopefully speed the healing process. But again, that's going to just take a little bit of time. Bed rest and proper health habits, and you'll be right as rain soon enough. That condition will stay on you for the remainder of the day. So,
That's fine.
as he is done wrapping you up, he's going to gently pat you on your back. So, you mentioned something about wanting to be useful.
Yes, I'm sure you are the best person to determine what I'm capable of doing right now.
Indeed. Well then, I could use your help. At the moment, my assistant is currently out and about around the settlement delivering assistance where it is needed. Normally, I'd have the Tender Paw do this. But, given your condition, I have no issue pressing you into this service. And he hands you a scroll and a quill. Come with me. We are going to catalog the dead, prepare them for burial, and then we will have a bonfire later tonight. I wish all their names and their deeds recorded. We will interview as many as we can. It will hurt your heart, but
It hurts already. I thought I was going to be doing something a bit less depressing, but
yeah.
it's necessary, so I am willing to help.
He nods. The good news is, I can tell you from experience, by the end of the night, having done this, you will feel better for it.
I'm sure.
And you can see that from beneath his alchemist mask, which kind of just looks like, it's very much that the plague doctor style mask. He has a couple of like little primitive filters sewn into it on the front. And it's very mouse shaped, so it's less bird shaped and more mouse shaped. But you can see from the sides of it, it kind of turns up a little bit in like the hint of a smile from beneath there. Come.
Sorry, I hit the wrong button. I don't know why it's not showing my camera. I meant to mute myself.
That's all right.
Oh, there it goes.
Perfect. So, over the next hour or so, you go from mouse to mouse, body to body, and he basically is reading off what you need to do. The alchemist himself is actually the one who's doing the interviewing. You're just sort of taking notes as he asks you to annotate them. By the end of the night, it still hurts, but there is some satisfaction as you can see that the bodies of the many mouse guard who perished today, along with the other folks nearby, are all on different pyres, all slowly burning. The sparks go up into the sky at the night, and you hear the sound of mouse guard singing tales and of legends, and occasionally even laughter as some of them engage in wake ceremonies. And at the end, the alchemist gives you a nod of appreciation. Without another word, walks back towards the tortoise. In exchange for doing that, I give you Guard's Honor, level 2.
Okay.
Guard's Honor, I'll just let you know what this does. Those who live or were raised in Lockhaven have a special relationship with the Guard. They know its inner workings, its needs, and travails. Living so closely with the Guard earns these mice a trait called Guard's Honor. You have earned it without being at Lockhaven. They are more intimately connected to the financial and social body of the Guard and are trusted to a greater degree. As a result, this will give you more pull with the Mouse Guard. And at level 2, it is something you can utilize multiple times. It is quite an effective tool.
I like it. All right. Well, once Sayana is done, she will probably just send word to Tom and her troops, letting them know she's okay, and if they need to find her, she'll be resting in the medical tent until she feels well enough to, get back to things.
Very well. Finally, we turn to Dukan. Dukan Diamondback. Weasel O' the Hour. You have stood on top of this, on top of the tree branches, staring at that scroll, at your title, for long enough. What do you do?
Dukan needs to see Jado.
Jado be there. Jado and many of the other Hedgems are all, I guess you'd say Regims, because they are technically the Regim force. They're all doing their best to sort of assist where they can. But at this point, there's not that much to do. The mice have all laid their dead to rest. The Hedgems have done the same with theirs. You can still see the smoke rising from their part of the caravan, where they have, as is their tradition, laid the dead to rest within their furnaces and immolated the bodies. And so, having cremated, they have moved about their days. Jado is eventually found just like sitting over by a tree by one of the many different pyres that are currently going tonight. And he is currently drinking a lovely spiced ale with a wonderful apple scent coming off of it. And just sort of resting on his haunches, watching the fire when you approach.
Dukan just like walks up next to him wordlessly. Like just sits down next to him and just hands him the title.
Jado just takes the paper. What's this then? And unrolls it. Good grief. This is what I think this is.
Dukan is no leader.
Oh, that's wrong. And he just rolls it up and hands it back to you. I mean you're blatantly wrong. Not a leader. Give me a break. You? I wouldn't have signed up to help you if I thought that you were no good at this. Including those two imbeciles over there, I trust you. And you can see over by the fire, Gremble and Squeeb, both the two of them, are currently engaging in a jig, surrounding by other mice who are all of them drunk on spiced ale and celebrating their recently dead and their lives. And you can see Gremble and Squeeb, both the two of them are really going at it. From what you can see from this distance, Squeeb is doing the literal worm on the ground.
Hell yeah. It's my boy.
Is he goated with the sauce? Weasel busted down sexual style.
So you are coming, then.
This is officially drafting me into your court, is it, Lord Dukan?
Dukan resists the urge to smile, but I don't think he does a very good job, and he just gets this kind of like wicked weasel grin across his face.
Yeah, no, 100%. You can't fucking hide that shit.
Like the Jim Carrey, just like...
Dukan could not imagine walking this road without his best bro.
Well, now you're just pulling at my heartstrings. That's unfair. How can I say no to that?
He has the bro fist with his little weaselly arm.
He reaches out with his hedgehog paw and just pounds it back with you. All right, brother. I'm in. Sign me up for whatever court nonsense you need. You'll probably need some regims to back you up. With that title, and from what I hear going on with how pissed off Raphael's about the whole situation, you all might end up even drafting regims into your units. I imagine musketeers would be useful to you.
As your first task.
And Dukan like sits up and like kind of puffs his chest out, like all pomp and circumstance, being very sarcastic about the whole thing.
Dukan needs you to find a worthy regiment of Hedgems for you to command at Dukan's side.
I imagine I can scare up something as debased as I would require. Of course, I'll get right on it. After the ale. and a good night's rest. They're all drunk out there, I'm sure. He just sort of gestures vaguely at the many campfires, and in the distance you can even see some regiments firing off fireworks, which are
Oh, yeah.
not what they're supposed to do in a forest. But then again, they're not particularly sober right now.
Haven't there been
So-
enough fires today?
Yeah. I'm sure in the distance some mouse or even some regiments are probably getting on them to not fucking do that. But occasionally in the distance you would see like little as blue and red and even green occasionally goes off in the distance.
I think that's probably a good scene to end on for me. I'm happy with that.
I agree. Jotto passes you your beer, and you two spend the night just vibing. Which leads me into the next day. So, at this point, we're going to take a step away from in character, and we are going to take a moment to ask you guys. This is going to be me asking you as players, but also as characters. You have been charged with a very specific task, and that, my friends, is the creation of forces to lead. Each of you are now captains, which within that means you not only have your personal regiments, but you will also be given 2 additional regiments that you can raise. You will also all be gifted you'll be gifted 2 tortoises total, in addition to the tortoises you command. This is not including the regiments that would have their own tortoises, but these tortoises are specifically for transport. The ones you're being assigned are to be weaponized at your choice, in your way. You will all share command of these 2 tortoises, but these other regiments that we'll be drawing, these are yours to raise. So, I happen to have a deck of cards here of all the different regiments that you can use. If I can turn the light off so it's actually halfway visible, there we go. So, here's how this is going to work. I want you guys to describe what kind of forces you would like, and we will begin to build from there. Right now, we'll be drawing Tier 1 troops for you. But I might throw something in if you guys can manage a good circles roll.
I already know what I want if it's possible.
Okay? Hit me
I
up. What
won't.
would you-
I want to see if I can get Trevor and his boys to join us.
Ah, Trevor and the boys. All right.
And that's going to be their name, Trevor and the boys.
Trevor and the boys. All right, so you want the actual name of that type of regiment would be a regiment of shot mice. Shot mice are specifically Owl Kingdom shot mice. I guess at this point it'd be vine crawl shot mice or vine crawlers. That'd be awkward to say. Vine folk shot mice. So make me a circles roll. If you roll over a certain threshold, I will give you this option. I'll give you this thing for you. You will then have 1 other regiment you can raise. Depending on your roll, which is 2 successes, I will let you eliminate 2 options from the pool of cards I'm about to draw. So that's pretty decent. I'm going to roll a d6 on my end.
Okay.
And we're going to see, based on what I roll, what you've managed. Out of the way, buddy. Sure, fall on the floor, why don't you? That's fine. That works too. Whoop. Yep. Okay. So, Trevor, when you approach them,
Mm-hmm.
I'm imagining that you're pretty, how do you approach Trevor about this? Like, you don't have to role play it out unless you want to, but how would you lead with that? What's your
I
How's your
don't
approach?
beat around the bush. He seems like the kind of guy who appreciates straightforwardness, so I just request him to meet with me to discuss business and lay out my proposition. He and his whoever band he's in charge of join us, and we will pay them well. They'll have the opportunity to explore and potentially help save other mice. They've
Okay.
seen what we were able to do for their territory, so if they are interested in expanding on that, then we're the party to join.
Well, considering the roll that I just made, Trevor, after thinking for a very long time and telling you to give him the afternoon to think about it, comes back and says that Lord Seer has approved it. And he
Perfect.
doesn't even want to be paid as a mercenary. He's willing to work as a part of the expedition. He's in it for revenge. Someone hurt people on his watch. This town isn't his to police. That would be his commander. However, he, as a shot mouse, prides his eyes and his skills with the bow in protecting his people. He views this as a personal failure on his part, and he wants to rectify that with blood. So, until you kill the foxes, pay is not an issue.
All right. Works for me.
Okay, so you have yourself a regiment of shot mice as one of your 2 regiments, and the other one is one of the following 4 options, which I will put up on the screen for you, and this will be for everyone to see as well. Let's see, this will be tier 1. So, at the moment, there are a total of under tier 1 mouse guard. Here we go. So, these are the base forces that you can command. If I can get this to work. Here we go. Select and move, thank you. Jeez. Okay. So, we have Mouse Guard Archers, Mouse Guard Shield Bearers. Give me that. There we go. Mouse Guard Spear Mice. And then finally, Mouse Guard Swords Mice. Given your successes, I will let you remove 2 of these 4 from the random draw. So, which of these 4 forces do you want to remove?
Well, I've already got some bow and arrow type stuff going on, so you can remove the archers. And
Roger
my Tom and the boys are already kind of shield bearers, so you can remove that one as well.
Okay. So that leaves you with swords mice or spear mice. Okay. I'm going to take these over here, and I'm going to randomly draw them. So I'm just going to sort them along with a random extra card. Look away, and just try not to think about the order in which they are put. And I will draw. You get yourself a regiment of spear mice to your name.
That's the one I wanted, so that works out.
Nice.
Perfect. All right, so make a note wherever you'd like that you have a regiment of spear mice, and you also have the owl shot mice led by Trevor. And that is your force, your personal force at the moment. Okay. Who wants to be next in the formation of your personal little forces? I guess these would be your detachments, would be the proper term to describe this.
I'll go. Red hasn't said anything.
Okay,
I've been
you got it.
gesturing at you. I don't know if you could see me. I'm just like,
No, I can see it.
That's fair. All right, let's go, buddy. What do you want?
What do I want to remove?
Well, let's get a circles roll first. But
Okay.
tell me, what would you ideally want in your force? Not just from this, but generally. Right now, under your command, you have the Expedition War Weasels.
You remember that one guy who we took hostage when we were infiltrating Vinecrawl? And he had
Yes.
like the glowy juice. I want that guy. I want glowy juice, boys.
on the glow man.
Okay, I know exactly. Yes, I know exactly what you're talking. Glowy Juice Boys.
They all wear pants that say juicy on the butt.
So the term for that would be torch mice specifically. So
Torch mice.
torch mice are also an owler force. Their whole thing is by using the glowing orbs that they have, they throw their glowy juice on people. The vials shatter, and it paints them with this bright day glow thing. Basically, it gives everyone a buff to hit. So makes them super effective at that. And based on your roll, this is circles. That is 2 successes. Yeah. So, how do you approach our friend, the commander of the Torch Mice, with that?
Is that the guy that I took hostage?
That is He is one of the two. There are two of them. We never gave that dude a name, so we can give him a name right now. The only other one was the one you guys introduced in when you were introduced into the town by. I shouldn't even say you. That was actually Sienna. Was the one who had like a positive interaction with that.
Ballard.
Yes.
No, I'm saying Ballard. Is that a good name?
Ballard? I like that.
Because
Ballard.
it's my time to come up with another stupid name.
I love Ballard. That's perfect.
I like Ballard too, honestly.
All right,
Next
we'll
time.
go with that. So
Thank you.
We have Ballard. So Ballard the Torch Mouse. I love that. Here we go. So yeah, the other one was Nolan the Torch Mouse. This is Ballard the Torch Mouse. So go ahead. How would you approach him? You don't have to. Again, you don't have to roleplay this unless you really want to. No pressure either way.
I think Dukan would just, tell him that there's a big wide world out there, and that it would be really cool if he wanted to join up with an elite force that would try to only keep him where he and his men are strong, and capitalize on what they bring to the table, while he also gets to explore the world. And
Okay. All right. Again, there's a bit of a pause before Ballard seems like he's initially nervous to see you again. Like, you spared his life and his forces, but you also literally, you SEAL Team 6'd him and his buddies pretty fucking hard. They kind of remember a bunch of weasels leaping in on the top level of a watchtower, tying them up and interrogating them. So he gives you a little bit of a longer wait, but by, again, mid-afternoon, he's back, and he states that he, in fact, is more than willing to fight.
nice.
In fact, actually, he kind of wants to learn how you all did that, and wants to see what other unorthodox tactics you might be able to bring to play. Something he might be able to one day bring back to Vinecrawl, or failing that, maybe teach other torch mice to spread their knowledge.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So, now that you have acquired yourself a torch mouse regiment, which you can make note of as well, you have rolled also 2 successes on your circles, which means you can knock out 2 of these 4 options on this page. Which
Nice.
one do you want to get rid of? Archers,
Shield bearers and spears.
Okay. Shield bearers be gone. Spear mice be gone. So now, this is entertaining. I get to just draw the other ones. All right, so we're looking at archers and swords mice are the 2 options. Okay, I'm not even going to pretend I can shuffle only 2 cards. I'm going to roll this one. So 1 through 3, 4 through 6, and it fell on the floor because of course it did. There we go. Whatever this is. Archers.
Yay,
You-
that's what I wanted.
Yeah. I seem to be on a roll today with that. So you have yourself a regiment of tier 1 archers, which feels pretty good.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. All right, then. So, finally, we turn to Giles. Giles, my friend, what are your plans for your regiment? What do you want amongst them? What are your goals?
I'm gonna call a lifeline.
Okay.
Let's see. How much time is going to elapse between establishing a new regiment and
This will
moving
take
forward?
This will take probably the better part of a week for you all to get your regiment ready to go. Your regiments are basically being formed ad hoc by whatever resources you have at your disposal, which at the moment is the Mouse Guard Expedition, the people of Vinecrawl. You can even reach out to prior settlements like the Serpent's Run to recruit if you'd like. They're a couple days away. So, since you've cleared the road, it'd be much faster to get back and forth now with runners and carts. So, you have a week to gather what you'd like.
It's been a long time since I've referenced the former Weasel Guard captain back in Gauntlet. What is her name? I know
God.
I wrote it down somewhere.
Roger that. I'm flipping way back here in my notes. I might have to rely on yours for this one. If you make it something stupid, I will hold it over you forever. No, I won't. I'll love it.
No,
Let's be real.
I could have sworn I wrote this down underneath like my. Why wouldn't I have written that down?
For the worst case, I can make a roll to see what it is. I'm not even sure if she even told you her name.
I think we might have just been on like a no-name basis.
I think that genuinely might be the case.
I think I just knew her as. I think I just referred to her as Captain. Like I think that was it.
That's fair. We're gonna go with Lunis. Loonis.
Lunis it is. All right, let me write that down. Lunis.
Okay. So you want to try to reach out to her. In what capacity?
I'm going to call in the favor out of mode. I'm going to say I need you to send out a regiment of weasels my way. Ones that are equipped and ready to fight.
Okay. Your correspondence takes the better part of an afternoon because birds are used for for this purpose.
Right.
So
I will say in the notes that Giles is specifically requesting these weasels for the purpose of training because Giles knows that you cannot train just in the yard. You need to have first-hand experience. So Giles is saying, I'm going to lighten the load for you a little bit. I'm going to train them personally.
Okay. She responds basically that with the forces that she has, or the weasels she's been raising, and she does make it clear she has been raising a resistance at this point. Your rolls continuously, I can't justify not giving you this at this point. They have a burgeoning resistance force. It isn't extreme, but it's enough to be like, early Rebel Alliance cell style thing, like a couple dozen weasels here or there, but scattered about enough where they can cause very discreet havoc where needed. So she offers two options. She has stalwart fighters she can send your way, or she has skilled skirmishers she can send your way. Those are your two options.
Skirmishers sound a bit more roguish.
To put it in perspective, actually, you weren't there for this, but the other two might be able to vouch for the effectiveness of the skirmishers. You all encountered before Gauntlet skirmishers. Remember that time you guys were approaching Vinecrawl and you had your two tortoises walking through the night, and then mice were dying in the fucking like brush, and you just couldn't get a good view? Yeah. Those were the skirmishers. The proper term for that, at least by Gauntlet style training, they would be known as Bonds Weasels. The Bonds Weasel skirmishers. They are brutally effective in combat. Here you go. Let me see if I can find it. Black Plate Bonds Weasel. Here you go. This is what that entails.
Ooh, no.
You'd be getting a group of so-equipped troops who are used to engaging in guerrilla shock and awe tactics. They're not really as skilled at being a frontline regiment, but mechanically speaking, they have the ability to scout behind enemy lines. So they can deploy in an opponent's rear rank. They're small, but they hit like a ton of bricks.
Giles' favorite tactic is just large distraction and then push in. It's sort of, I'm trying to think. It's the, he calls it the fitting the axe head. You put two wedges in, which are the, whatever the distraction may be, which are going to be these Bonds Weasels, and then you put the main part in, which is his forces. So having some saboteurs, sappers, skirmishers, those are going to be very ideal for the way he likes to fight. So I'm going to request specifically the bonds weasels are sent my way.
Roger that. Okay. So, if that's the case, then, my friend, you're going to be making me a circles roll.
This also plays on the idea of his forces being particularly intimidating. The whole idea of just like the debuff aura of morale.
Oh, yeah. No, 100%. Like, I think I can very safely say, but I will turn to Derek and Natalie on this. Did you find the bonds weasels intimidating?
Yeah. It was
Okay.
scary.
Yeah.
It was
Good.
scary.
You guys aren't going to like it, but I'm going to use them. They're going to be with us now.
Oh, okay.
Weasel time. Okay, let's look at
Weasel
circles.
time. The weasel,
Weasel
the weasel saturation only increases.
It's getting weaselly in here. All right. All right, let me get out some dice. I got 4 in circles, which is surprisingly high. And I'm going to use a die to add an. Well, I'll use it to see how it goes after I roll this. So. Start with 4. Let's see if I get anything tasty. Oh, let's see. A 5, a 4, and 2 3s.
A 5, a 4, 2 3s.
I'm willing to roll another die if that's not like exceptional.
No, that's enough. I've been looking. Basically, the baseline is 2 successes. So
There you go.
that's what everyone else has managed. That's enough for you. So after like the better part of like 2 days goes by, a couple of crows fly not to Vine Crawl, but near it. And then they never fly back up. And a couple of minutes later, entering Vine Crawl are a group of 2 of these incredibly terrifying weasels. Their armor, plated and banded and bent with hammers, and almost like, at first glance, it almost would look like it's riveted to them, but thankfully they are wearing leather harnesses, but it is strapped in really tight. Is coated in blood, and they are carrying 2 birds behind them, which they used to get here. Or at least, the bodies, which will make for delicious meat. They actually view this as an offering of both thanks and also as a tribute to their new commander when they arrive. They both put the bodies down, bend their knees, and you can see from beneath their wooden masks a pair of very eager eyes. And they both grin, wide enough to be seen from beneath the mask. We are ready to serve, Lord of Wolfram, freer of my people.
Mother Moon sent you.
Aye. We stand ready.
We'll begin by you removing those masks. You needn't be ashamed of yourselves anymore.
They both rise up and look at you.
I look
And
up
they
at
both
them.
they both nod with respect. These masks, they are no longer just shame. My family bears this mask. And next to them, you can hear the other one whisper, and they terrify the foe. Rest assured, they are ours, not Midnight's. We claim them for ourselves.
Giles actually finds himself smiling. Reclamation is the greatest spit in the face of the enemy. As you
They
will.
both nod and just clang clang, and they are at your disposal. I actually have their regiment written out already, so you're going to be getting. They are normally a tier 1 unit, so all the units you guys have acquired will be slightly toned down to be tier 1, because that way your armies can actually support them, since you already have tier 2s as it is, and they submit to your work. I will say, if you'd like, they are more than willing to wear the tartan cloth of the Wolframites. So if you
we'll
want
get
these
them
guys to wear some kilts, they'll fucking wear kilts.
We'll get them fitted. I think it'd be more I'm trying to think. But I definitely want to get them fitted with kilts.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They'd be 100% up for it. Not gonna lie, like one of them would probably bring up like, I kind of like the kilts at one point, like when they walk by. So
We'll get
yeah,
you fitted
100%.
for one. We're going to need a stitch about 3 or 4 together.
Yes, and they both just like they just give each other like this little fist pump as they
Mind you, it's a great respect that I'm allowing a non-mouse to wear a kilt. Do it well.
both turn back and nod. You will not be disappointed, Lord of Wolfram. We stand ready. And so, I then ask you, because you have again managed, one, a good success with that, well done. That's your first regiment, so you have a unit of, in this case, Bonds Weasel Skirmishers. I suppose technically they're not Bonds Weasels anymore. Technically, they would be Freed Weasel Skirmishers. So, I suppose that would be Weasel at Arms Skirmishers?
I want to call them wolf weasels.
Yeah, I'm down with that. So, yeah, Wolf Weasel Skirmishers. We got that.
They'll be the
will-
first amongst the Wolframites to be non-mice.
Oh, I fucking love that. Okay, I'm writing this shit down right now. Wolf.
To be quite
Weasel.
honest, I don't think all of Giles's people would be okay with the idea of Wolframites being something other than mice, but he's going to force them to like it.
Oh, yeah, no. I guarantee you this is going to come up as a plot point for all of you. You have integrated various different groups into your regiments who are not native to the mouse territories. Yeah, there's going to be some social nudging and butting, but we'll get there when we get there. At the moment, they are strong regiments and will help you out. Next thing we're going to ask is, Red, you have succeeded twice. You know the drill at this point. We have in front of you 4 options: archers, shield bearers, spear mice, swords mice on the table. You can remove 2. What would you like to remove?
Definitely don't want shield bearers.
Okay, shield
It's kind of
bearers.
antithetical to the way he fights. Armor
you're-
only
you're-
slows you down.
Yeah, your boys seem to really like the whole sprint across battlefield shrieking tactic, and it works pretty fucking well.
Yeah, it's the shock and awe. Yeah, it's pomp and circumstance. Let's
Now I have the wedding march in my head.
Mhm.
Between getting rid of spear mice and sword mice, those spear mice seem quite good to have against potential cavalry.
They are pretty useful. And it also is important to mention, and this is a really big deal, unlike in normal MCDM warfare rules, which is what this system is based off of, in case anybody fucking doubts it, there you go. That said, unlike an MCDM system, battle is not entered without reprisal. When you attack someone in this system, you open up the possibility for them to roll higher than you and damage you back, which means cavalry can be hurt by non-cavalry, and aerial units the same. If they roll shitty enough and the unit they're attacking rolls high enough, they can be pulled out of the sky or dehorsed or just fucking killed. So, yeah, by all means, that is an option. So, swords mice and spear mice are both good for different things. Swords mice, you choose what they're good at, but they stick with it for the rest of the battle. Whereas spear mice, they're kind of good because they just sort of get to make verses and independent actions against weird attacks, which is really funny.
Okay, let's drop swords mice. I really want the archers just to sort of have like a backline reign, but that's not. I wouldn't be upset if I got spear mice over archers, but I would prefer the archers.
Okay, very fair. So we have spear mice and archers on the table. I will remove that, and I will put the spear mice here. And I'm going to shuffle these.
Shaker.
Put them down. Roll a d6. 1 through 3, 4 through 6 in front of me. That's a 4. Hey, guess what, Red? You got archers.
Nah, right on. Fuck yeah.
So,
okay, cool.
That's pretty fucking, like, you guys had the luck of the draw tonight. That's pretty
More
cool.
intimidation tactics.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Jaws is gonna teach them what a good longbow rain looks like.
Oh, yeah. All right, so now that we have chosen what regiments we'd like, make sure you guys all have noted down what you have, and I will be getting back to you at the end of the battle, or at the end of, not the battle, but the end of the evening, so that I can make sure I know precisely what you all possess and plan accordingly. So then, we have one final thing we must address, just very quickly, before we go any further in the session. And that is the fact that you don't just have your individual regiments. You have all three of you been assigned collectively 2 tortoises. These tortoises are not clad for war yet, but they will be when you're done with them. You need to choose how you will weaponize your tortoises. How will you equip them? These are tier 3 units, the highest thing you will have possession of. And as a result, they are not to be taken lightly. They are very much, both the 2 of them, siege weaponry, but they are used differently. So, war tortoises are close-range siege weapons, more similar to like a siege tower. They are heavily armored, tough as all nails, and they know only how to really defend effectively until they get based up against fortifications. And when they get there, they do what tortoises do best: root. And everyone always thinks, oh, it's adorable, they root, haha. That means that they dig really fucking well. And that's a great way to undermine fortifications, utterly obliterating them in short order. They do D4 plus 1 damage every round they're up against one of those things, and they hit automatically. So they're pretty good. On the other hand, you have siege tortoises. These are equipped with siege ballistae, they are artillery, they have armor so they can defend pretty decently well, and they also have fast siege weapons. They can do damage to fortifications, but they only do 3 damage, and they don't really get to do more than that. They're also a little more vulnerable to attack, only having a toughness of 4 only, and having only a militarist attack of 4 themselves. So those are your 2 options, folks. You have 2 tortoises. This is between the 3 of you to decide.
We need a siege tortoise.
I think so.
I want to shoot at him.
Although I was gonna say, if Dukan is getting some hegems on our side, could we potentially get some of their cannons too to put on Tortoise?
Not yet. I will say this because you guys, at least you should deserve to know this since you're going to be planning your forces in advance. Dukan's appointment of Raphael, much as he appreciates it, he's going to be doing his best to get that regiment together. It will take him more time. There are less hedgehogs available, and their equipment is more sought after. So as a result, you're probably not going to get that regiment until after your next battle. So just be aware of that.
I also say we stick a giant battering ram helmet on one of their heads, because have you ever seen like tortoises and turtles just like fucking like bonk things with their head? That'd be devastating. Give them a cool helmet.
I mean, I would love to see that. I'm not going to lie. I've kind of designed their loadouts a little bit after the... it's like a hair after like the trolls in Lord of the Rings. So it's very much like...
They need a helmet so they can break through walls with it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Just like the trolls in Lord of the Rings.
Oh my god, thank god. I had tinnitus there for a second. I was like, is my headset fucking up? No, it's just my ear. Damn it. All right. So you do have 2 tortoises to equip. You can choose how you want to equip them both. You can split the difference. Your call. I hear that you guys want a siege tortoise.
I'm muted, sorry. Probably one of each, right?
Your call.
Yeah.
That's what I would do.
Okay.
It
Cover
is
our
the spice of
bases.
life.
One of each. A siege tortoise and a war tortoise. Very well. I'm going to give them names right now. Siege Turt. For the record, they're tortoises, not turtles. I like calling them turts for my shorthand. So, yeah, and a war tort.
That speciest.
So, a fun little detail, just for those of you out there who are even the slightest bit interested in animal facts. One of the big differences between a tortoise and a turtle is that a turtle can seal its shell completely. Tortoises can't. Their lower body, which has a little particular that bone section on the underside, the part of the front is called a plastron. It actually, on a turtle, moves. On a tortoise, it's solid. So they can't close themselves up and seal themselves up, which is why they have those adorable little blocky forearms. They use that to cover themselves. It's one of many little differences. So this is what happens when you raise turtles for a living. So I'm going to roll a die here. 3+ or a 4+, female, 3 or less. male. First one is female. That's going to be the siege turtle. And then the war tortoise, also female. Nice. And then I'm going to roll a name out here. So going to be 50-50.
Hey, if you don't like the one you're rolling, I could always come up with one.
Okay, I'm down with that. So one of them is going to be Laurel. I'll let you choose which of the two that's going to be. And Red, what's your name? I'm always interested to hear.
The first one I gave-
Quandivius Fleam.
That's a great one. So like Natalie was talking about species. So the first... I was gonna say specia. Fucking
No.
stupid.
I've heard dumber. I've heard dumber.
Let me think of a better one.
Okay. Oh God.
Guava.
Guava is
that's
wonderful.
cute.
I love it. Okay.
I'm like I'm
Guava.
like Tolkien coming up with names for the hobbits. There's like, oh, there's Daffodil, there's Heather, there's Rosie, and then there's Gwimbus, D-Blow, Quampa,
Yeah.
Dimbledap,
Proud feet.
Dildo.
Fucking dildo, the Great Adventure.
Heroin.
So which one do you want, Laurel or Guava to be the siege tortoise with the one with the bow, or do you want who do you want to be the one who walks up on Maul's fortifications, Guava or Laurel?
I mean, they both have such like passive sounding names.
Guava is a devastating tide of Tortillian fury.
Guava it is.
Guava is the war tortoise. It
It's
feels
also a very
appropriate.
nutritious fruit.
Guava. Go, Guava! Oh, it's called Guava. Ah!
Unsuspecting.
Perfect. All right, so we have Guava, and then the other one is Laurel. Perfect. All righty. So, this is in addition to the other tortoises your your detachment of the expedition will need. You basically, for your separate force here, are going to have a total of 8 tortoises to your name. So technically, you actually have more personnel, or at least you should say you have more. Really, like, yeah, you actually have a lot. You have almost half the remaining forces of the Mouse Guard under your command at this point. While they're keeping the bulk of the personnel back there, at least in terms of tortoises and supplies. Yeah. Like, the only thing you're lacking is, like, the heavy artillery tortoises, the command tortoises, and, like, the specialist equipment. So, basically, they're bringing up the wagon end. All right. I genuinely feel like this is a perfectly fine place for us to call it here, if you guys would like. I'm really
Okay.
happy with where we got.
Yeah, that's
so.
fucking
We-
fantastic.
As we end the week with the 3 of you overlooking your forces like something out of a fucking World War II film.
Men, some of you may die, but that is a sacrifice that I am willing to make.
Yeah.
As long as I don't die, then it's fine.
Ah, yes. Who said that? Lord Fuckwad, I think that was his name.
Yes, yes. One of the best war speeches of all time. by-
Some of you may die,
Shrek
but that is a
first.
sacrifice I'm willing to make.
Well, hell yeah, Omni, thank you for a badass session,
Mhm.
man. As always, Mouse Guard rules. Thank you for running it. Love you, buddy.
Thank you, guys.
Let's go through our regular outros. Natalie, where can people find you?
I'll be back here on Saturday playing Covet Syndicate with all these awesome people. And then the next Saturday playing Covet Syndicate. And then the Monday after that, we'll be on Red's channel playing. I always forget the name. It's on the tip of my tongue. Soldiers
forget
of
it.
Fortune.
I forget
There we
too. I
go.
run the fucking game. So.
Big mood.
Because I don't know why my mind doesn't associate it with it, because that sounds like a Saving Private Ryan type of film. And I
Soldiers
feel
of
like
Fortune.
my character is not doing that at all. She's playing like Little Women or something.
Soldiers of Fortune is a very, very sugar-coated term for mercenary.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're right.
Pirate.
We're right on the nose.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we'll be back to Mouse Guard the Wednesday after that. So that's it for me.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you, Natalie. Love you. Appreciate you as always.
you.
Red, what's happening, dude?
Well, I'm Red. I'm one of the 3 primary colors. I am a content creator on Twitch and Twitter. I'm going to be live tomorrow at 2 p.m. CST for the long-awaited return of Call of Cthulhu. We left off on a very tense note, and I'm looking forward to getting back into it, and the players trying to figure out where exactly it is that we left off. I remember exactly. I'd like to see what the players do. So I'm looking forward to that. Catch us. That'll be Omni. That'll be Alakazam, Cat the Lore Mistress, Ty Artemis. We're all going to be in costume as usual, and with candles and all creepy sorts about. So if you're looking for a thrilling experience, maybe even a horror-filled experience with a Call of Cthulhu zombie apocalypse theme, tune into Rapture tomorrow at 2 p.m. CST. Other than that, I run Soldiers of Fortune on alternating Mondays, as Natalie said, at 7 p.m. CST. I'm on a multitude of shows hosted by Derek and Omni here, so you can catch me there when I'm not being throttled by the 70% turnover rate of the food industry. And yeah, I'm just working on myself a lot in the background, so I haven't been putting my nose to the grindstone as much as I normally do, but I think it's more important to work on myself.
Yeah, working on yourself is incredibly important.
Hell yeah.
So I'm figuring things out. I appreciate everybody's patience and viewership and just general support. It means a lot to me. So thank you.
Hell yeah,
Love you, buddy.
Love you, man. Thank you so much for being here as always, dog.
Love you too, guys.
Hell yeah. And Omni, take us home.
Hello, everyone. I'm the Last Omnitect, your favorite robot American, and you guys can catch me on twitch.tv/The Last Omnitect, all one word. You guys can also catch me on Instagram and Twitter with the same handle, The Last Omnitect, all one word. I also am trying to get back into Tumblr, and I'm hoping that in the next few months I can start doing stuff on YouTube. I'm hoping to do like semi-animated shorts recapping things that have happened in our games. But we will get to that when we get to that. I'm also currently dabbling in a couple of other things, including hopefully getting a new PC, which is kind of what's holding me back. So fingers crossed on that. In the meantime, you guys can catch me on my Twitch tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. EST. I'll be running the Breakfast Club, our weekly breakfast date with me and the TTRPG community as we talk about what's going on in the TTRPG community as a whole, our little chunk of it, and also just play video games, vibe, and eat breakfast and have a good time. This Saturday, I'll be doing the Stellar Forge, my weekly world building and digital art stream. And same time, 10:30 a.m. You'll see me here for Covet in the evening. And of course, I'll be on Red's channel as well, doing the Call of Cthulhu game this week. And me with my square brain trying to remember what happened last session. Good luck with that. I'm trying. My brain is getting worse with age. And then finally, every other week, I run a total of 3 TTRPGs, 2 of which are on this lovely channel. One is this, Mouse Guard, The Frontier, our little mousy adventure into the wild beyond. We have the Wild Skies of Eternia, my first ever Pathfinder 2e campaign on my Twitch channel, which includes a couple of really good friends, including 2 on this channel in this game right here, which I'm super excited to have them both in. And finally, I have Legacy Storytelling the World Tomorrow, my fast and light TTRPG campaign I run every other Saturday at about noon on Derek's channel right here. CST times, by the way. And that has been the culmination of a nearly 20-year-long project of designing, redesigning from the ground up a setting and a rule system. And I'm currently prepping the beta. So that's me. And as always, Derek, I love you. Thank you for letting me be on this channel. And I love you guys. You're great players. And truly, I look forward to doing this every other week.
Hell yeah, man. Always have a blast. Thank you so much again for running, man. Fantastic campaign.
Thank you, buddy.
Hell yeah. Well, chat, we're going to be raiding into Rolling Thundiga because they are very good people and they raid into us all the time on our Saturday campaign booty. Sorry if I've been kind of low energy. The truth is I've actually just been exhausted. So if it seems like it, that's why. But thank you again, chat, for being here. Thank you for all the support. I love y'all. I appreciate you. You can catch me next live. I won't be there, but they'll be live on the channel at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time with Darker Stars on Friday, hosted by Souls Rolls. On Saturday, I'll be live at 12:30 p.m. Central Standard Time with Booty. Piratical 5e campaign, and then on 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time on Saturday, Covet Syndicate. I don't really remember what comes after that, but I love you. I'm tired. I'm gonna go to bed. Thanks for being here, folks. Night night.
Peace.